And now it's recording. Now let me share the screen with you. Now we are going to touch base with those guys. An additional announcement I forgot. Somebody has a coronavirus on your classmates. Uh, so just watch out. There is a new variation of the coronavirus. If you go to Google News, you will find that there is this cute kind of possum. The mink is a very nice animal, and they have them to, they kill them, they take the fur, so they prepare these very expensive coats. Well, the coronavirus, as expected, has already migrated into the mink, into the animal. And they were infected and it mutated again, went back to the human. So in Denmark, they have 5 people with that new variety of coronavirus. And if you get it, the vaccination is not going to work on you and is much more contagious and is more dangerous. Because if we have hope for that vaccination whenever it comes, we might probably face a different version of the coronavirus that for sure will kill more people. So if you can avoid, already the election passed, and fortunately these days it's just about the the lawyers talking to among them. So nobody wins by deceiving people, that by not using a way of protection, you may be killed. So cover your mouth. You may die. So that BS about you can go free in the streets without any cover is not true. You may die. So watch out with that. We have another classmate now with the coronavirus. I wish her the best. I hope she will recover soon. And let's see what happens. Okay, now chapter 15. Now going back to class. The boring class. If you have suggestions to improve this thing, please give me the suggestions. But we have a lot of materials, we have to cover this stuff. So now, we are going to touch base with those guys who are majoring in communications and in design. Those guys are working with marketers to produce the image of products and services to so customers can know that that marketing offering exists. So this is chapter 15. It will go very fast. It's very straightforward and it's interesting. And the best way to learn about it is just watching YouTube. Watch TV, watch YouTube, and pay attention. You can watch whatever TV you want, as long as you're smart, as long as you pay attention. If you observe, you will learn a lot from the TV. So let's talk about the advertising and some small portion on public relations. So let's talk about the role of advertising. Is any paid form of non-personal presentation and promotion of ideas, goods, or services, this is marketing offerings, by an identified sponsor. So it's whatever you have seen of advertising, that's it. So let's assume that you are the producer and you want to advertise your marketing offering. So now you have to take some decisions. And first, which will be the goals, the objectives of your advertising? So you have to write down which are the communication objectives, which is the message you want to convey, and how much you want to sell. If you cannot put it in numbers, you are not working well. You are not doing a fine job. If you cannot, whatever is your measure, if you cannot operationalize what you are saying and write it down in numbers, it's not going to fly, whatever is your measure. So just think about that. After that, you have to plan a budget, how much money you can spend on it. And last class, we talk about the methods, the budget methods, the affordable approach, the percentage percentage of sales, the competitive parity, and the objective and task methods of budgeting. That comes into the exam, remember, okay? It's the most probable thing. Now from there, which will be the message you will be sending and which media are you going to use? So you have to consider the impact and engagement of your audience, which are the major media types, which are the specific media vehicles you will be using, and the timing. Everything is about the timing. Okay, I'm working on an article these days in the Catholic culture. They have the Virgin of Guadalupe, and the Virgin of Guadalupe, once people immigrate to the U.S., is used as cultural crumbles into the stores. So immigrants, many of you may not know this, but immigrants enter into a state of liminality. Liminality is when you are in nowhere land, when you are lost in time, when your life just is frozen, freezes up, and you are going nowhere. And that happens, for example, when you went into to vote. If you went for the votation, you were in the line, and if you remember where you were when you were waiting for the vote, in the line, you were in nowhere. You were in nowhere land. You were in a state of liminality. That's very interesting. So immigrants, when they come to the U.S., they enter into a state of liminality. So they look for cultural crumbles, cultural clues to a reality where they belong. They are looking for the place. And so the Virgin of Guadalupe appears, this sacred symbol, as the clue to go to a place where at least they will be safe. That's the article I'm working on these days. And it's very interesting because the message and the media that is used under that context is very particular. And you can see it in the stores. When you go to Hispanic stores to buy for something, you will see that special meaning that you may not understand, but that is the point is to have a beacon, a cultural beacon for people to feel safe. But that's another way of advertising. So you offer your customers comfort, and your individuality is redefined. It's very interesting. Now, you have the advertising. Just do your evaluation. Take your guess. How effective was the message, the budget you spent? Well, let's talk about a little bit more about these objectives. So, for example, you can see in the streets, the book will tell you a nice example of Wendy's, where Wendy's is attacking McDonald's with a message which is our marketing offering is fresh, has never been frozen. And that's kind of interesting because it triggers some feelings, some preferences you have in your mind, dormant in your mind. Probably they were put as a seed by your parents, by your taste, by your experiences. So Wendy's is trying to remember you this part. Now, what kind of advertising are you trying to make? Informative, persuasive, or just a reminder? So informative. Normally is when the product life cycle is in the beginning. So if it's going to be informative, you are going to teach your customers how to consume, how to feel. To teach them even how to how to how to feel about your marketing offering. You have the option of the persuasive advertising. So you have Wendy's and McDonald's. Which one? And each of them will try to hook you up. And to do it, they will try to persuade you to do something. Always, it's about money. Always. Just follow the money. And they will try to take the money from you. If it's not this time, it will be the next time. So probably they offer you, okay, 2 for 5. Take the burger, take the fries, and pay $5. So it's not going to be that profitable for them. But probably you will want to have a coffee, or you will want to have something else, and so you will give a nice profit to whatever they are selling to you through whatever they are selling to you. You have the other reminder advertising. The persuasive advertising is when the life cycle of the product is in the maturation. And now reminder advertising is when the product is mature or is going down, is in the starting the declination part. And in that case, so you try to remind your customer you are there. And there are many examples of that. Let me, there are some examples, nice examples, read them. It's table 15.1 in the book about how informative advertising could be written, or how can you define the goals or the objectives, the persuasive and the reminder advertising. So you have all the 3 types of advertising match the product life cycle. Just think where you are. If it's new, it has to be an informative advertising. Don't think about persuading anybody, to convince anybody. Teach them how to use your marketing offering. If it's going to be is already in the market, is mature your product, is passing from the growth phase or cycle to the maturity cycle. So you have to convince them that you are there. And you can't avoid this. You have to do it. Otherwise, you may die. You may die faster. Now, factors to consider: which is the product life cycle? Which one is your market share? That's very important. Market share is the proportion of sales from the total sales in that specific market, or that in this specific industry where you are selling something. which percentage is yours. That's the market share. It's very straightforward. And it's measured in sales. So whatever the others allow you to sell, your competitors allow you to sell, now figure out how much money are you making. Probably you are not making that much, and it's time to move out of that industry. Now also you have to consider your competition. And remember, if they are launching something to persuade, you not necessarily follow them. It's very tempting, but don't necessarily follow them. Now, it's very common in business that you follow the industry leader. If the industry leader comes up with something new, something revolutionary, a new way to sell to the customers, yes, follow them, but not necessarily the goals of your advertising campaign have to be aligned with your competition. Probably the competitor is missing something important. Now, the strategy. Let's talk about the strategy. This is kind of important. You will, if you are in the marketing department, the department will move a lot of money, a big chunk of the money. So, number one, you know you have to create the messages and you have to decide which media. And for that, you have to optimize exposure. Exposure is, okay, your customer, how many of your customers receive the message you sent through a media? So the goal in these two decisions is maximize exposure. Of course, there is a bad thing is they can block you. Today, through the internet, they can put there are many free software packages you can install in your browser, so you can block the ads. So you might probably have to change the strategy, especially with Netflix. For example, if you like TV is very extreme, is the most expensive of the means. But the problem is that they can block you because might probably want to see Amazon Prime TV or the Disney Channel, or they have Netflix, as everybody has Netflix. So you have to figure out which advertising you get. If you're in Wyoming, I am sick, I'm tired in YouTube receiving the same advertisement from this solar power company. I'm sure some of you have the same advertising with this same guy telling you Wyoming homeowners, blah, blah, blah. I'm sick and tired of that. And what I can tell you is YouTube hasn't refined enough their cookies because they would know what I'm looking for, unless advertisers in Wyoming are really bad. I don't know. But now, the message and the content of your brand, that's another part that is very important. A typical case is if you see the advertising I send you, pay attention to the baby taking the Coke. Oh no, I think it's not there. Okay, the Coke, the bottle of the Coke, the old bottle was inspired on the body of the women. That's the reason how it goes. And that was one of the first application of design in marketing. They wanted to inspire everybody, what was the prototypical body of women in those years, and that's how it was designed, the bottle. But the bottom line is this: your brand will represent something, and your logos will represent something. So watch out which logos are you going to use. Today, most of the logos are understood by nobody. By nobody. I mean, this is the logo of Starbucks. It's kind of a Catholic virgin, or I don't know what is this, but you recognize that. For example, I don't see if you see it. I don't think you see it. HP, the logo of HP is too old. Two guys who invested in technology, started offering technology. Whatever is your logo will represent an image, a message. Think about that logo very, very careful, very, very carefully. Now, you want your brand, your brand at the end will be integrated in a group of constructs. So you may believe your logo means something that doesn't mean in the same thing in the mind of the consumer. So don't stop talking to your consumers, to your customers, because they know what your logo means. You probably don't know what your logo means. Now, there is another advertising, which is kind of deceiving, and I don't like it. But in the body of the website, of the page, you will see that very softly they start talking about some marketing offering. For example, the ARM processors. If you go to the news, Google News today, you will see that they are announcing the ARM processors, and those you click there and you will see an article talking about those new ARM processors, and they will tell you normally they were capable of supporting 8 processors, 4 big processors, 4 small processors, but now they are offering the capacity of 8 big processors in the same chip. Well, this is hidden advertising, because Mac is launching on the 10th of this month, November 10th, the new line of MacBooks with that specific processor. In 2 years, all the Macs will migrate to the use of those processors. And they had a big, hefty investment on that company. So that's the reason Apple decided to take away the Intel processors. They tried for some short time the AMD processors, but now they are going to use for all their marketing offerings the ARM processors. Sorry for the pronunciation. So that's interesting. But if you go to the Google News, you will see this article, which is actually it's advertising. It's not an article. Now, think when you are building your message. This is a big message for those guys in communications. Think about your customer, what your customer wants. Don't think about you. Don't think about what you are capable of, because people not necessarily look for you because what you are offering. They look for you because what they are looking for. Watch out with that. So identify very clearly what are the consumer benefits you are providing. And remember, which one is your positioning and how are you creating value? And put all that together in one simple message and give it to your customer. Okay? Now, the creative process, the creative concept. This goes to the design majors and all again to the communication majors. Yes, probably you want the package or the product to be meaningful, believable, distinctive, but it should be in the customer's terms, not in your terms. Especially the design majors. I have met a lot of really talented designers here in Wyoming. Like many, I'm surprising. I believe you can find more talented people here in Wyoming than in Texas. That's my impression. The thing is, whatever you are building, don't think about the aesthetics only. A friend of mine, he's a very well established, very respected artist. He has this, you know, multiple personality disorder, professionally speaking. Half of his day, he works as a designer for a corporation or for many corporations. So he designs logos and the corporate image, whatever. What a designer does for the corporations. Half of his time is for his art, for his personal work. And in that part, he's famous. So if you're a designer, just think about this. Also, if you're a communication major, think about this. Half of your time, do it in a very, you know, profit-oriented way. Just work for a company and give them whatever their customers want to hear. Okay? Yes, there is an hypocrisy in all this. Do that. Half of your day, if you want to, do your stuff, your art, but separate them, put a wall on them. Otherwise, you just will confuse your own customers, the companies. Now, if you have a message, the the idea is very clear. Just say it, say it, say it, say it, say it. Announce it, announce it, announce it. And remember, not necessarily what is going on today in politics should be always be like seen as a bad thing. For example, Trump is saying there was a fraud, there was a fraud, there was a fraud. Everybody is telling him there was no fraud. This is not a third world country. There was no fraud. It has been planned for years before you, and they will continue the procedures after you for years. There is no fraud. But he's promoting. He's delivering the message. So something that is very admirable, really admirable, is that he is delivering the message. He likes marketing, and that's the way of doing it. And this is not talking about if it's right or wrong. Nobody cares about that. He's doing the right thing marketing wise. Now, there are many, this is for the communications major as well. The message, how are you going to execute the message? Well, probably as a slice of life, some, history that actually happened. Or maybe you can promote stress as specific lifestyle in your message. Or probably is a fantasy and you are using the Mandalorian as a reference to talk about something. Or probably you are trying to trigger a mood or an image in the mind of the consumer. Probably you will place music, and it's a musical inspired piece of message. Or probably you will use a personality, a symbol. So from the Mandalorian, instead of using just the fantasy, you use Baby Yoda, and you will try to engage now to the baby boomers who became very engaged with with Yoda before. Or probably you will try to talk about you use the technical expertise and try to, for example, Roseman in New York is a guy who is one of the only guys repairing Macs in the US. So is the Roseman Group. If you look for him, he became very well established. He's, I don't know, 30 years old, 28 years old. He became well established through YouTube repairing Macs. And he started creating a movement where he disagrees with Apple, where Apple doesn't want you to repair your Mac. And he says, if you pay for the thing is yours. So you already pay for that thing, do whatever you want with that thing. And if it needs repairing, you have to have the right to repair your computer. So Apple has sued him several times. He has served, nonetheless, he's like 28. He has served as a jury in Denmark against for a case, for a specific legal case against Apple. It's very interesting. So he fosters this technical expertise in his marketing, and he's placing this Wikipedia kind of site where you can find all the guides to repair the Macs. It's interesting. Another way is the scientific evidence. If you want to create some advertising that is referred to, for example, to the vaccines, well, probably you will have to talk about the scientific evidence behind that vaccine. Now, you have also the way of the testimonial or endorsement. Somebody who is known, who has gone through that experience, probably that will be a good example to follow, to communicate the message. Of course, you have to take care of the tone you will use. Watch out with the words and with the format. And there is a very important thing. Towards the end of the chapter, they will talk about advertising in the international setting. And you have to realize something. There are so many, for example, many bad words that they are bad words. For example, the F word, the B word, right? Well, those are bad words because you receive an reinforcement. When you say those words, probably the sandal of your mom just came to you flying, magically came flying. You have to know that when you are saying those words to somebody who didn't receive a reinforcement that word is negative, the word will have no meaning. So when somebody from a foreign country, for example, I'm Italian, you tell the Italian who speaks English, you tell the Italian F off, the Italian will receive no message, will receive no understanding, because he didn't get the reinforcement that is a bad word. So watch out with that. Who is your audience? Many words you have in English with a strong meaning will have no meaning for your audience. Probably they will understand what it signifies. They will not understand the implications. Watch out that. Now, okay, you have to determine how far are you going to deliver your message, the reach, how frequently, how strong will be the impact. If it's a strong message, the impact will be larger. And once you deliver the message, how's going to be the engagement? For example, now I'm seeing the people here taking class. Some of you just turn off the monitor. Some of you didn't turn off the monitor, and I can see you. And it's very easy to see who is engaged and who is not. That kind of messages, you have to be very receptive to those messages and think about your goals. And even though you know some of your customers may seem distracted, probably they are not, or probably they will eventually get it. Eventually they will get the message. So this is to tell you this. This is to tell you that all the people, all the customers require their own timing. People have different timing to understand, to process the message. You have to consider that when you are thinking about the reach, frequency, impact, and engagement. People in general, a safeguard for you is think that people don't understand the message and they need more time. So even though probably you receive the message very fast, people normally don't understand very fast. Think about the media types, which is going to be the vehicle. And when are you going to deliver the message? The timing. The timing is kind of one of the most important things. Now, this is what I just explained. And the profiles. Now, you want to launch the advertising television, it's very expensive. It's very good. It's very good. Everybody will hear you, or most of the people will hear you. Extremely expensive, prohibitive. It's out of reach for most of the corporations. Now, you have digital, mobile, and social media. They can block you. You can try to place your advertising somewhere. If it seems like very aggressive, they will block you. Facebook, Twitter, Google, they will block you. So my probably don't work too much, and it's very expensive as well. One click when you are in Facebook, you see accidentally you stumble in one of those ads and you click it, and sends you to another page. Is $1 for the advertiser. It's $1 per click. It's very expensive. So per month, probably you will need, for a regular corporation, medium sized, probably $200,000 to $300,000 per month. It's a lot of money. You have the direct mail, but they will put you in the section of the junk mail. They might probably not even open the mail. And of course, there are many scams, so you are dealing with a very difficult thing. Magazines is a good option, but the audience is smaller. But if you have a very well-defined, target, and in your target, an important portion of that target reads certain magazine, it's very good, because they will give you prestige, they will give you credibility, because you are being announced there. For example, you are producing some fancy pants. Well, you go, and they are for males, so you go to GQ, and it's expensive, it's very expensive to write down an article in GQ to promote your brand. But it's very efficient, because now the magazine is giving you the credibility you may need. Radio is another option, and the radio has the problem that is practically, I don't know for how long it will continue, but it's going to disappear eventually. Many people don't hear podcast anymore, which is the the radio on the internet. So, and when you are in the car, you are playing your music. Rarely you are listening to something on the radio. So there are some strong audiences, like for example, NPR, the National Public Radio. That station is very well established, has a very strong base of followers, but it's not for everybody. And now you have the outdoors. When you are in the highway, you can see the ads, and I'm very surprised that in Wyoming almost you don't have many ads. In Colorado, you don't have many ads. If you go to Texas, you will see that there's plenty of ads anywhere. And it will depend on the market. People in Texas like that. People in New York, they don't like that much. Those announcements, because they become expensive and they become especially dangerous if they are placed on top of the buildings and they can fall. Now, just think about the impact, the effectiveness, and especially the cost. Think about the cost of whatever you are going to purchase, to announce your marketing offering. Now, when are you going to do this? Well, you have to consider seasonality. Seasonality, statistics-wise, is time series. Time series will tell you when are you going to sell more. So normally you will sell more when you are in Christmas. Black Friday is coming, has changed Black Friday. So Walmart is making 3 major events for Black Friday. Amazon already started. If you follow Amazon, you can see. And very important thing, think about the real-time responses. When you launch your advertising for Black Friday, for example, monitor daily what is going on. Even if you have a small business, come up with your idea of Black Friday and offer to all your customers. Remember, we studied the customers relationship management. If you have a small business, it's a sin not having your listing of customers. If you can get a listing of customers, go and get it. Now, all this was, okay, you did your advertising. How much money did you receive for doing that? What was the profits? You invested? How much money did you recover? And that's kind of very important. The net return on advertising, people will measure you on that. In marketing, in the communications measure, and especially on the designers. The designers, is easier to sell a design by telling the customer, you know what, it's not only pretty, it brought a net return of 20% last time I did it. Okay. In the contract, if you are hired as a designer, just put a clause saying you will give me the financial indicators. So to my next customer, I can show off how much money I'm producing. Now, there are many ways to measure communication effects, and many ways to measure sales and profit effects. The thing that you have to know is, whatever you are doing, the least probable thing is that nothing will happen. The most probable thing is that something will happen. So either you increase sales or you lose sales. Whatever you are going to do, once you are hurt, you gain sales, you lose sales. Think about that. And to measure the communication effects, The book will explain to you different ways to do it. The bottom line is make your surveys. Make your surveys. Talk to your customers. Ask them what they think. There is in the book an example. I read it. It's very nice about the Oreos. How in the real-time marketing, they intentionally let the cookie drop in the milk of in glass of milk. So there is a multiplicative effect. It's not only the image, it's what the image reminds you, what the image triggered you to think, the emotions. And there is a lot of psychological stuff on this that just read in the book. Now, you have the company. If you hire an external agency, you will have a bunch of interns, guys of your age, trying to come up with an idea, period. And they don't care. They are just interns. Eventually, they will go away. If you do it in-house, it's about what is in place, and you will know that is the money of the investors. So always I recommend everybody do it in-house, because the guys and the agency are people who you will never see again. And if you are in the international arena, just think about the tropicalization of the constructs. So it's about the cultural environment needs a message that matches the environment. So before coming up with this crazy idea, because that is so nice because you think it's so nice, hear what the cultural environment is used to hear, and from there you can start to design the message and all the strategies. Just 3 more slides. These are very straightforward. It's about public relations. And we talked about public relations before, and many communications majors want to go there in public relations. And that is not necessarily marketing. That's just public relations. It's having fun. It's not about marketing. It's much more difficult to find a job there. And it's much more difficult to find a job after being there. But they will be able to talk to the customers in a much more corporate sense. Before I told you, these guys are important, and they are really important. But not if you are graduating from the communications program. Go first to a marketing department, go to a sales department, go to a purchasing department, and after that, go for public relations, not before. You have to have experience. Now, you have a press relations or press agency. It's about how are you going to create these messages, which could include rumor, and spread it out. And that's today what is going on with the election. They create rumor and they spread it out. If you are in communication, you have to know who's the press director of Trump and Biden, and look for the press directors of all the competitors, for the Senate, for the House of Representatives. Try to get a job among them. Write a message if you are a communication major. Not necessarily of your preferred political party. Probably you are a Democrat and you look for you know, a senator, a Republican senator, contact the PR guy who's the press director of that senator and tell him, I want to learn your stuff. And probably you will get a job there just to learn how the public relations activities work. Now, this is very important. Among the public relations, you have the lobbying groups. You have the investor relations, the development activities of these public relations guys. But there are two main things. Lobbying groups is you are producing something that is not welcomed by the law. So you try to convince the senators and the representatives, the Congress, to pass a law that will allow you to produce something. And that's how it works. You convince somebody. Okay, for example, a few weeks ago, strong news. How come if you are in England, you need any drug, you need an aspirin, you need an anticonceptive, you need this pill because you have this specific cancer disease, terminal cancer that in the US is like $1,200 per pill. If you need any of those, in the UK, you will pay £8, around 10 bucks. Whatever you need is 10 pounds. In the US, there are people paying is very normal, $1,000 per month for their medication. So how come it happens in the US? Is very straightforward. The lobbying groups of the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most powerful. So they are convincing all the time, the Congress and the Senate to pass these laws that they are not favorable for the people who are suffering conditions in the US. And if you have there are many protests against this because in Canada it's the same thing. This is the place on earth that where medicine is the most expensive thing you have to pay for. Few weeks ago, somebody unveiled how much money these pharmaceutical companies paid to the Senate to shut up. It was very cheap. It was amazingly cheap. They gave 45 million only. They are making trillions. They sell trillions. A trillion, I think, in the US. It costs only 45 million of disbursements in contributions to the Senate. So the laws continue like this, and the ACA will be probably rejected these days. So if you have a previous condition, prepare for bankruptcy. Now, finally, why you want to have the public relations guys with you? It's very straightforward. You want to reduce the expenditure on advertising. So if they can come up with rumors, you save a lot of money, a ton of money on advertising. That's the bottom line of these guys. With this, we finished the chapter. Read the last part. This is the last couple of pages, talking about which are the tools for public relations, the news, speeches, how they relate to the public. It's interesting. It's interesting and something that you have to know, regardless your mayor. And do you have any question? Yes, I know this is so extensive. Next semester. By the way, an advertising. I'm going to teach international marketing. The format will be different. Finally, I will make it different, not boring. If you need an elective class, just go to my class and that's it. Easy peasy. And do you have any question, any comment? So for those who didn't know, last chance to know, you can get 5 additional points for your second exam if you write down, based on the book, 200 words about saying why that thing is wrong, why the advertising I gave you is wrong. So, okay. So no more questions. I'm sorry for boring you. I can tell. Any question? No?
Thank you,
Okay, guys.
Professor.
Thank you very much. See you. See you, Ali.